welcome to Players Only. It's an 8-game night. Yes, it's a new night, but it's the same cast and crew and the same professionals around us helping us look good, so don't worry. Hopefully we'll be consistent with you. I'm Chris Webber, Isaiah Thomas, and our man Kevin McHale at the end. Guys, we have a really good game tonight. We got the Timberwolves, and they're a little bit under my expectation, 19-21. I thought they'd be probably 5-6 games above 500 at this time, but they're going up against the number 2 team, and maybe the biggest surprise for me, one of the biggest surprises in the NBA, the OKC Thunder, especially on the defensive end. I think Coach Donovan has done a great job, but we can't ignore the news of Coach Thibodeau being fired in the regular season. Overall, he's 352 and 246, so he has an above-winning record overall in the NBA. But there in the Wolves, he was under that 500 mark. Let's start with you, Kev. When you understanding what's going on with the Timberwolves, did you kind of see this move of the firing of Coach Thibodeau coming, or was it a surprise, or how did it get you?
I think it all happened at training camp with the whole thing with Butler. That was the start of it. You know, Butler came out right after the season, which I didn't know he knew about, and said, I want to be gone. Like a week after, Butler doesn't fly back with the team after they lose in the playoffs, which is usually a sign of something bad's happening. Because, you know, everybody rides together that last, and you start talking about next year and getting better. He doesn't even come with them. Tells Tibbs he wants to go. And none of that gets out. I'm not even sure how many people inside the organization knew that. Doesn't show up for training camp. Comes in late in training camp, has a practice where he curses out everybody and kind of just, starts going off. And I think that was it right there. I just think at that time, I know if I'm on the team and a guy does that, if I don't say something, I'm surely hoping the coach says, hey, man, come on. This is practice. These are your teammates. We're stopping this thing, man. This is about us together. And I just thought that was it. Now, it took a little longer. It's boiling up, Chris, when you get dropped after you win a game by 22 points. And they won 2 games in a row. So this was going to happen one way or the other. But I think it happened again, like I said last year with Butler at the end of the playoffs, going all the way up through training camp.
Yeah, so much has been made, and watching TV this week and hearing undertones of journalism, it seems that players have been accused to not say what's on their mind about teammates, and it's in other sports, football mostly. But here, listening to you guys, you've been pretty critical, I think, of good friends, of guys that have been in the same position of you, because it's not personal when we're talking about sports. And both of you guys have been coaches. Both of you, I'm not sure, have been relieved of duties or quit those duties. And, how could he have stopped the bleeding, Zeke? And where do you go from, right now? Right now, you have young Saunders, the coach of the son of Coach Flip Saunders, 32 years old. First of all, I know he's a great basketball mind as much as he's been around the game, but being so young, taking this young team in a new direction, how do you sort through all this if you're in the midst of this storm right now as management for Minnesota Timberwolves?
The first thing, management, as Kevin said, they made a bet on Butler. Tibbs and Butler made a bet together and lost, right? So that relationship got fractured. Once that relationship was fractured, now there's an organizational fracture. And when you have an organizational fracture with management, players, coaches, now somebody's got to bring everybody back together. And normally that's going to be the coach. So, Saunders has a big job ahead of him these next 2 to 3 days, because right now, these next 2 to 3 days, so much stuff could spin out of control, and it can get out of control quickly.
So, Zeke, I hate to cut you off, but both guys, first of all, I love the fact that his son has a role, and I know, again, he's a basketball mind. But with the lack of experience with the young team, I'm wondering how that plays, and I'll give you a better example. To me, this was the first time maybe Coach Popovich was in a situation where he had to recruit one of his own free agents. And when you understand maybe people don't look at us like I thought they do on the inside or how they should, maybe you end up losing in that situation. What does he go on right now to say, this is how you hold it together? Is he calling your mentors? Is he talking to the players? If you're him, what do you do with that lack of experience?
He's got to lean on the players. Now it really becomes Towns and Wiggins who really have to steady the ship and bring everybody together, because Chris and Kevin, you both know this, right? The product and the performance out on the floor, that's what's going to be judged.
Yeah.
The X's and O's is not going to be judged as much as the product out on the floor in terms of how you play, how you execute, how hard you play, so forth and so on. And that really comes down to the players. So the only people who are really going to get them out of this situation are the 12 guys that got on the uniform.
Right.
And when the 12 guys who got on the uniform, Towns and Cat, they got to lead it.
And, you look at the guys. Ryan Saunders is 32 years old. He looks at those guys and say, look, I'm one of you. I mean, let's do this together. And I think the biggest thing you got to do, because I've taken over in the middle of the season a couple times, you got to go from trying to put your stuff in. Because like I said, we were talking about the Zeke earlier.
Yeah.
Try to put a whole new offense in yesterday. See how it looks tonight. You got to take Tibbs' stuff, if you're Ryan Saunders, and say, okay, I like these 3 sets. I don't like these sets. And you guys take Tibbs' stuff and use that tonight and slowly bring your stuff in. But I think also if Ryan is smart and is going to talk to you guys, I'm going to go to the top players if I'm him and saying, okay, what sets do you like? Cat, when you need a hoop, what do you want me to run from you? Wiggs, when you're not rolling, what gets you rolling? And then I tell you what, I'm running that stuff for my top players. And I'm going to get my top players on board, fighting hard, and then they'll bring everybody with them. But it's tough. I guarantee you Ryan hasn't slept in 2 days since they told him as head coach. His mind's spinning. The game's getting ready to start. He's got 700 things going through his brain. And I told you, Zeke, just hope it doesn't come down to the last 35 seconds in a tie game. Ryan will be like, oh, man, because, you have so much stuff you have to do. But once you do it and you get comfortable with basketball, like I told you, I wanted to go for 2-for-1s late in the game. So, I mean, if there was 38 seconds to go, tie game, I said, guys, we're going to get a shot up in the next 4 or 5 seconds. I mean, we did that in the first quarter. We did that in the second quarter. Did it in the third quarter. We're going to do it in the fourth quarter. Let's get 2 for 1. And so you got to kind of get your style of coaching, put it in there. But I know right now, young guy, I've known him since he's just been a little boy, Ryan. And, I know he's nervous as all get up right now.
I'll tell you what, he's earned this moment. I'm sure his father and his family made him earn this moment. And he has a guy that's very reliable. When you look at Karl Anthony Towns, he's averaging 30 points on 53% field goal in his last 6 games. So I can see that. And one thing you said, Kevin, I like, when you go to a player and you say, Isaiah, what play do you like for you? You're really giving them responsibility. Because you can't look at me and say, well, Coach, I'm not in my zone. I'm not in the place. I'm expecting you now to be successful every single time at this mark. And so it'll be fun to see how he and this group gets through this game.
So players only, I'm going to throw this out there, even though this is our guy here. We don't want to lose you or anything. But, your history with Minnesota, your history with the family, with the organization. You got Sam Mitchell sitting out there.
I asked him this today. Zeke walking in, I asked him the same. Talk to him.
I'm just saying there's a lot of names floating around out there, and you two have experience. Not only do you and Sam have experience, y'all both have been, great executives. Sam was coach of the year. You both know Minnesota. You both know the franchise, everything else. I'm just throwing it out there. I think y'all a good team going back to Minnesota, working with some of those young guys that y'all helped to mentor, so forth and so on.
I just got scared again. They had KG together, Squeed, Cassell.
He's been
we had to try to beat those guys.
Yeah, so when you talk about experience and making it work and everything else, he and Sam Mitchell, to me, that's a good look in Minnesota.
I tell you what, Sam would be a great hire for them. I really do. I'm not sure.
You're not running for office.
No.
He's like, I'm not ready to announce.
Hey, Chris, you ain't even in this conversation.
I think he should.
This is just me and you talking about.
Towns could work with the big fella. He had black. He's tough. They say they're lacking toughness. Wiggins on that wing.
But Phoenix now, his
blood. You saw them come back from 3-1 that time against Houston. I'm sorry, against the Clippers.
But that was him.
That was his team. And the part guard that played. Yeah, he drafted Garnett.
Oh, okay.
And also made the area conducive to raise up a young guy like that.
Is he from Minnesota? Is Mikal from Minnesota?
Yeah, he played. Did he play at Minnesota? Big Ten guy.
Oh, yeah, he won championships with the Celtics?
Did he? A couple. He said that 86 team was the greatest you'd ever seen.
And he's got experience?
Yeah.
He knows from.
Wait, we're not in the commercial right now.
One thing I know, he likes the sunshine of Scottsdale.
There you go. Oh, man. But, yeah, so we do have another team that's going to be playing OKC. We'll talk about them a little bit later. And I think most teams will be really surprised with the way that OKC is playing, especially on the defensive end. That's right. Your still leaders for this year in the NBA start with Westbrook at number 1, number 2, PG-13. We'll talk about him on the other side. Players only, baby.
And
Coaches
you know
only.
that.
Coaches only.
Mikal, Sam Mitchell. Sound like a good fit to me.
Just bring the sunshine.
Coming up Tuesday on NBA TV. Yes, the two to my left are involved, but really it's 3D's night, just asking. Timberwolves and Thunder, Knicks and Warriors, of course, because the Knicks right?
It's
10:30
Tuesday night.
Eastern time.
Players only, baby.
Players only, baby. Come on now.
Trader Pregame
Come on
show.
now. You got to say it right. You got to
Go
say
ahead,
it
say
like
it.
you mean
Say
it.
it. Mean it. Give it
Players
to me.
only, baby.
Players only. baby.
I like that.
We're going
You got to say
to.
it with some feeling.
We're going
What
to,
night is it?
How about issues only, baby? Because that's kind of been like the backdrop for the T-Wolves. Here's Ryan Saunders on now moving forward with Minnesota.
Definitely didn't expect to be standing here. I'll first off say how much I respect Coach Tibbs and Coach Andy Greer as well. It's tough when you spend so much time with people, on the road or just in general, and then you see you're not going to see those people as much anymore. That's a tough thing. So I'm thankful for the opportunity though, and moving forward, I'm looking forward to seeing progress on the court and helping grow this team.
All right, from Ryan Saunders to Area 21 and our boy KG, who had a lot to say on Tibbs, obviously, who he said, good coach, going to land on his feet wherever he's at. He'll get another opportunity. By the way, congrats, and obviously not the way that he expected to Ryan Saunders, not only in the coaching job, but and I know what this feels like. That's why I went with this, being the only coach who will get carded when he goes out with the team. The Timberwolves, you go through all that they went through, everything with Jimmy Butler. Now you lose the coach. How worried are you for the growth of the young talent that through all of this, like Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins and others, Zeke, are trying to take the next steps in their career?
I'm not worried about the players as much as I am about the organization.
Okay.
Because they really did take a step back. I thought when Sam Mitchell was there, I thought he was doing a great job with those young players. You had Levine, you had Wiggins, you had Katz. They were coming along, and they were doing all right. And then you decided to break that trio up. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a good young trio, and I thought Tibbs made a bet on Butler, on Chicago, and he went and got him. And when you made that bet, I thought I thought Butler and Tibbs would be closer together. They would be, joined at the hip, and they would be able to take it. I think the disconnect came when Butler and Tibbs, somehow they got sideways. And when they got sideways, not only did it fracture their relationship, but I think it also fractured the franchise. So now the franchise is left scrambling because that relationship and that gamble on Butler didn't work out.
I'm going to ask you this, Candace, as a player, because from outside looking in, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people. And I just think from a common sense standpoint of, we always hear about millennials now, and I think about coaches that I've talked to on the baseball side and how they need to treat it differently today. When you've got a roster with all the youth that they had, can it work with a coach like Tom Thibodeau? You paid for Bobby. We've seen coaches have a lot of success who are tough. But in today's day and age, can you be that way with young players at a professional level?
It's a balance. But with this young talent, and especially up until this point, they've been doing this a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And now the coach is gone, Jimmy Butler's gone. Mm-hmm. So now it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Tibbs is the way he is. We know him as a coach. Obviously, we've heard things down in Chicago with Boylan and his attempt to kind of bring that out of players. But until you want that fire, that desire to be a top player come out of you, it's not going to happen. And right now, if you're not looking at anybody else in the mirror, where this franchise goes is going to be where Kat and Andrew Wiggins takes it.
We're going to see Golden State in this players-only doubleheader. And
but
yes, go ahead, Zeke.
Let me go back to that because I do think from a coaching standpoint, the coaches do have to find a way to bring that greatness and inspire you to reach down deeper than you thought you could yourself. We watched it with Phil Jackson, with Michael Jordan, mm-hmm. Okay? We watched Pat Summitt do it to you. You watched Coach Knight do it to me. When I got to the NBA, Chuck Daly, had his way of doing it. So the great players in this league, whether it be Pat Riley, tweaking Magic Johnson or mm-hmm. Kareem a little bit, or, Dwayne Wade or, Shaq, whoever, the great coaches they have to find a way not only to just rest on your talent, but they got to find a way to inspire you to give more. And I don't feel like Cat or Wiggins have had that fire to get inspired to do more.
Yeah, and I'll recite something near close to here. I've used this before, but Leo Mazzoni, longtime pitching coach for the Braves, told me years ago, I always use this, and I know Griff loves this if he's watching, is coaching sometimes is about knowing where to blow smoke and where to light fire. And I feel like that's some of what I don't know that they've always gotten right. I think that's from the outside what I don't know if Jimmy got right. Those guys seem to, you don't want to use the word coddle, but you need to sometimes be able to push a guy with positivity too, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's a fine line, you know, and that's why the coaches that we just talked about, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Right, sure.
Because they knew how to get it out of you, but yet make you realize that it was the best for you, right? But you know, I went for a year, and you know, I didn't like Chuck Daly. I didn't like Coach Knight.
Yeah.
I didn't like my high school coach. But now that I'm out of it, I'm glad I had those coaching me. You know, and I'm sure you felt that way about Coach Summit sometimes.
Definitely. But to add to that, it takes a special player to be able to look yourself in the mirror and understand that you have faults and you have things that you have to do better. And sometimes what you think is right is completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have done that. I don't know. But right now we're going to find out whether they do it or not, because everything around them that has been the quote-unquote problem, those are the only two that are left.
Accountability, right? I mean, you can't win without having it yourself in the mirror, in addition to kind of everybody else. Be interesting to see. I mentioned don't sleep on that Warriors game, not because the Knicks can beat them, but home losses. We've seen some interesting situations. Go look in that closet. The boogeyman perhaps could be out of it. We got more coming up on Game Time. Did we say some issues? The Sixers, too. We'll get into the process.